Book of Heaven, Volume 24, Part 14. September 5th, 1928. Pains of Jesus and Contest of Light. The acts in the Fiat are pebbles and breeze in the sea of the divine will. I felt I was without my sweet Jesus, and I agonized for his return. But alas, while my poor heart was tortured, my beloved Jesus doubled my pains by making himself seen all wounded, crowned with thorns. And these thorns were so sunken inside his flesh that he could not be looked at. What moving and sorrowful scene! He threw himself into my arms to be soothed. Oh, how he agonized, moaned, writhed. I clasped him in my arms. I wanted to take the thorns out of him, but I found it impossible. So sunken they were. And Jesus, sobbing, told me, "My daughter, how much I suffer. If you knew how much creatures offend me, and how they themselves arm my justice to be struck by it." And while he was saying this, it seemed that lightnings, flames, and ice were coming down from heaven to strike the creatures. I was frightened, but it was more frightening to me to see Jesus reduced so barbarously. So I continued to pray, and I said to myself, oh, how I would like to convert everything, thoughts, words, works, steps of all creatures, into will of God, so that sin may exist no more. I would like to eclipse them with the light of the divine will, so that invested with light and enchanted by it, under the eclipse caused by divine light, creatures may lose the strength, the passions, the will to offend my sweet Jesus. But while I was thinking of this, my beloved Jesus told me, "My daughter, as the soul takes on the commitment of wanting to convert all human acts into my will, she forms her rays, that expanding, take the earth as though in their power, and rising up to heaven, more than solar rays, they invest the sun of my will, and plunging into it, they form one single sun, such that, as they form as though a contest of light, everything, heaven and earth, undergo the enchantment and the eclipse from the sun of my will. And even my justice is eclipsed by this light, in such a way that many scourges are spared." Then, after I had written for quite a while, my sweet Jesus came out from within my interior, and taking my face between his hands, told me, "My daughter, I want to pay you for the sacrifice of writing that you made." And I have been writing for 3 nights, and you have not given me anything. It seems to me that you are quite sparing now. You no longer show me that great satisfaction you used to show me before, when I would write. Nor do you command me to write any more with that loving empire of yours, as you used to do. To me, it seems that you have changed. And Jesus, I cannot change, nor is it of the divine nature to change. The human nature changes. The divine never does. Therefore, be certain that nothing has changed in me. But do you know what I want to give you as your pay? My very life. Each truth I manifest to you are gifts of divine life that I give you. And I give you the freedom, not only to keep this great gift for yourself, but to multiply it, in order to give it to whomever you want, and to whomever would want to receive it. You must know that each act, word, thought, done by the creature in my divine will, are pebbles that she casts into its sea. That rippling overflows outside for the good of all. Other times, they are many breezes that make the sea of my fiat swell and form its waves, more or less high, according to the multiplicity of the breezes that the creature forms in my sea. And these waves, while they rise, descend again, part into the sea, and part flooding the earth. Oh, how delightful it is to see the creature, now coming to cast her pebbles into our sea, now coming to as though blow, forming her breeze. And the sea smiles at her by rippling, making feast for her by receiving the breeze and forming the waves. So the soul who lives and operates in my fiat gives us the occasion to make our sea rise, and gives us the field to flood the earth and heaven. And since it is divine will that flows, it disposes the creatures to ask for its kingdom, and we feel that the creature who lives in our divine will calls back the feasts, the amusements, the games of the beginning of creation with her Creator. Everything is licit for one who lives in our will, and we let her do everything, because she wants nothing other than our will and our echo that resounds in her. And letting herself be carried by our divine echo, now she casts the pebble, now she forms the breeze, that now forms the waves, now moans, now speaks, now prays that it wants our divine fiat to be known, loved, and to dominate on earth. September 8th, 1928. Interest of God in one who lives in his divine will. Example of the Son. How everything will be known of the sacrifices that Luisa has made in order to make the divine will known. I was feeling oppressed because of the privation of my beloved Jesus. Oh, how I would have wanted to take a leap into the celestial regions, never to go out of them again, and so end it with these blessed privations of him that make me live dying. Ah, yes, if by his goodness Jesus lets me reach his fatherland, he will no longer be able to hide from me, nor will I ever again be without him, even for one instant. Therefore hurry, my love. Let us end it once and for all with these privations of you, for I can take no more. And I felt so embittered that more than sharp sword, it pierced my poor soul through. Now, at that moment, my beloved Jesus came out from within my interior and told me, "My daughter, courage! Don't you know that our interest in one who does my will and lives in it is so great that she is kept by us as our own thing, exclusively ours, inseparable from us? Our divine volition is inseparable from us, and as much as its light spreads, the center of it is always within us, symbolized by the light of the sun, that while expanding and extending over the whole earth, holding it in its own hand of light, never departs from its sphere, nor is the light divided or loses even one drop of light. In fact, light is not separable, and if it could be divided, it would no longer be true light. Therefore the sun can say, 'All the light is mine.' The same for us. The light of our divine will is interminable and inseparable, and it makes the soul in whom it reigns our own and inseparable from us. So, since we keep her as our own thing, it is our interest to give honor to ourselves and to invest her so much with all of our divine qualities as to be able to say to all, 'In this creature there is divine life, because the light of our Fiat dominates.' Therefore our interest that everything in her be holy, pure, beautiful, and that she be invested with our happiness, everything must give of divine will. Just as the earth, when it is invested by the light of the sun, loses darkness and gives completely of light, in such a way that the light acts as queen, and dominating the earth, it makes itself the nourisher of it, communicating to it the life and the effects of the light. In the same way, our divine will, when it reigns in the creature, dispels evils, puts to flight darkness, weaknesses, miseries, afflictions, and as queen makes itself nourisher of light, of strength, of divine riches, and of happiness. Therefore, for one who lives in our Fiat, bitternesses, oppressions, and everything that gives of human will lose their place, because the light of our Fiat tolerates nothing but what belongs to it. And just as our divine will takes all interest in the creature as something that belongs to it, so does the creature lose all human interests and acquires all divine interests. From this it can be seen whether my divine will reigns. If she no longer feels any interest of her own, and if she does, It means that the soul does not possess all the fullness of my fiat. There are still little voids, empty of its light, and therefore the human makes itself felt, and the soul comes to take on human interests. Therefore, bitternesses, oppressions, out of your soul. These are things that no longer belong to you. To you belongs the light, and everything that the light of my will can possess. After this, I was thinking to myself, how many sacrifices are needed for this kingdom of the Fiat? Sacrifice of writing, sacrifice of rest and of sleep, sufferings, incessant prayers, continuous death to the human volition, so that the divine may have perennial life, and many other things that only Jesus knows. And after all this, maybe nothing good will be seen, no glory to God. Therefore, so many sacrifices without utility and without effects. But while I was thinking of this, my always lovable Jesus came out from within my interior, and clasping me in his arms, told me, "My daughter, what are you saying? There is not one sacrifice you have made that will not have its value, its precious effects, because everything that is done in my will, and to impetrate that it be known, acquires divine life and communicative virtue as its nature, in such a way as to communicate to others the divine life and the virtue it possesses. So much so that everything you have done and suffered is present at this moment before God in impetrative act, to obtain that creatures dispose themselves, and that God concede a good so great. Then, when my will becomes known, and its kingdom is accomplished, all the words you have written, the night vigils, your incessant prayers, your rounds upon rounds in the work of creation and redemption, your long years of bed, your pains and sacrifices, will then shine like rays of the sun, like diamonds and precious stones of infinite value, that little by little those who will have the great good of knowing my will and of living in its kingdom will recognize. Even more, they will know that the foundations bejeweled, the factories raised, are cemented with the many sacrifices of the one to whom the mission of making known the kingdom of my will was entrusted. Everything will be known in clear notes. Also those who have contributed, who have directed you, who have commanded you to write, and have interested themselves with making known, with words or with writings, what regards my divine fiat. And this is nothing. All the good that those who will possess the kingdom of my fiat will do, the glory that they will give me, will descend and ascend again into the ones who have been the origin and the cause of a good so great. And even if you are in heaven, the communicative virtue of my will that has lived life in you on earth will place you in communication. It will keep all the ways open between you and them. So, your life and everything you have done and suffered will be in their midst, and everything they will do will have its origin in you, because one is the divine will of one and of the other. And if you knew the glory, the contentments, the delights that will come to you, you would love to sacrifice yourself more, so that my will be known and dominate in the midst of creatures. September 10th, 1928. One who operates in the divine will opens as many doors between heaven and earth for as many acts as she emits. The glory of Adam in heaven. How his acts prior to his fall into sin remained intact and beautiful, while he remained wounded. How in Adam it is known in heaven what God did in creation. I was following all that the divine will had done in creation and redemption. I would have wanted to leave not one of its acts without my little act as its company and perennial homage of glory and of love for a will so holy. And my sweet Jesus, moving in my interior, told me, "My daughter, how content I am that you do not leave my divine will isolated in its so many works, done not for itself, as it had no need of it, but only out of love for the creature. You must know that as you move from one of our works to another, in order to recognize our love in them, to give us love and glory, we find the requital to our love in the one who recognizes our works. How bitter and sorrowful it is to do good out of pure love and not to be recognized. And when we find one who recognizes our works, we feel as though repaid for what we have done, because we gave love, and love we receive. And to one who lives and operates in our divine will, we give freedom to establish many bonds between heaven and earth, to open many doors of communication, to place many chains, so as to make her acts ascend into heaven, and make many graces descend for the good of all creatures. In fact, these works of ours, that of creation and that of redemption, have been done on the face of the earth, and have the virtue of opening heaven. And in order to have it opened through them, we make use of one who operates in our divine will." And while he was saying this, he showed me many open doors in heaven, through which many gold chains descended, that bound the earth for as many works as my sweet Jesus had done. Then I continued my round in the works of the Supreme Majesty, and as I reached the point of the creation of man, I thought to myself, Adam lived the beginning of his life in the divine will. So his thoughts, words, works, and steps were animated by the unity of the Fiat that embraces everything and contains everything. Nothing escapes it. Therefore his acts possess the totality and fullness of everyone and of all goods. And if one act alone done in this way, in the unity of the fiat that embraces everything, is such that all other acts of creatures put together cannot equal this act alone, Adam, who lived a period of his life in this unity of the fiat, who knows how many he was able to do? So his glory in heaven must be great, and perhaps it surpasses everything, except for the sovereign queen, who formed complete life in the divine will. It is true that Adam sinned and went out of this unity of divine will. But if he went out, his acts remained, because I believe that no strength, either divine or human, can destroy even one act alone done in this unity of the fiat that embraces everything and possesses everything. God himself cannot annihilate a similar act, or at most, he would have to destroy his own divine will, that he cannot do either, because, being eternal and infinite, without beginning and without end, it is untouchable by anything, and no one can touch it. Then, while my poor and little mind wandered amidst these and other thoughts, and I would have wanted to free myself so as to move elsewhere, my beloved Jesus, making himself seen, told me, "Daughter of my supreme volition, I want to hide nothing from you, because for one who lives in it, my will itself makes itself the revealer of what it has done for love of the creature, and of what the creature herself has done in it, because it carries them in its womb as triumph of its works. Now, you must know that indeed Adam possesses a glory in heaven that is given to no one else, as holy as he may be, except for the celestial Mamma, because no one else possesses even one act in the unity of my divine will. It was just and decorous for our divine majesty that the first creature that came out of our creative hands possess more glory than all the others. More so, since the first period of his life was carried out as we wanted. It can be said that it was our life, our will, and our works that flowed within him. How could we destroy this first period of the life of Adam, since it was more ours than his? It is useless to think about it. Whatever is done in our divine will remains untouchable. No one can touch it, because these acts enter the divine and infinite order. And even though Adam slipped and fell, his acts done up to that moment remained intact and beautiful as he had done them. He was the one who remained wounded, ill, our image disfigured in him, because our divine will that had taken on the commitment to keep him beautiful, fresh, strong, holy, completely in order with us, just as we had created him, was no longer in him, because Adam himself had rejected it. But his works, done up to the moment when he had the misfortune of falling, that possessed the unity of our fiat, suffered no change, because we too were jealous of these acts that had glorified us so much. They had put us in feast, as we saw that man, our Son, elevated himself up to us in order to absorb into himself our divine manners, our likeness, and to bring us in the unity of our will, joys, happinesses, the requital and the smile of all created things. We were enraptured in seeing our dear Son, the work of our hands, live in our will, as though in our home. Taking from our own, he was able to bring us new happinesses and joys without end. My daughter, the first period of the life of Adam is unforgettable for us, for him, and for the whole of heaven. After he fell into sin, he remained like a blind man, who before losing his sight has done so many beautiful works as to fill heaven and earth. Who could ever say that those are not works done by him, only because he voluntarily lost his sight? And that since he can no longer repeat them because he is blind, the ones he has done remain without value? Certainly no one. Or if a person who applies himself to study science, in the middle of his studies, no longer wants to continue, can anyone take away or destroy the good of the science he has acquired, only because he does not continue? Certainly not. If this happens in the human order, much more so, and with more validity and certainty, in the divine order. So, by virtue of the first period of his life, innocent and carried out all in the unity of our fiat, Adam possesses such glory and beauty that no one can equal him. And at the mere sight of him, all the blessed recognize how beautiful and majestic the creation of the first man was, enriched with so much grace. In looking at him, they can see in him the incalculable good of the divine will in the creature, the joy and the happiness that the creature can possess, and in him alone, as though in a mirror, the blessed can see how man was created, the exuberant love that we had for him, the abundance with which we enriched him. We gave him everything, as much as creature could contain, to the point of overflowing outside and being able to flood the whole earth. If it were not so, if the whole magnificence of our creative hands could not be seen in Adam, not even in heaven would the great things we did in creation be known, and what the creature does and can do in our divine will. It is our love that demands this, and also our justice that wants to have, in heaven, the reality of that image, as man was created, and not another man, but the very one who came out of our creative hands, so that if the earth does not know him, heaven may know him. they look at their origin in Adam, and grateful, they thank me and pray that my fiat may come to reign upon earth and form more images, more beautiful than Adam, because he was not a complete work in my divine will, but a period of life. Only the sovereign queen possesses complete life and works in my fiat. Therefore there is no one who can equal her. And my will wants to make more complete lives in it, so as to repeat what it did in creation, to make known to the earth in what way and order was the creature created, and the great, beautiful, holy things that my divine will can do in her. Moreover, you must know that up to now I have not manifested to anyone either the great qualities of Adam or his sublimity, greatness, and sanctity, because he lived his first period of his life in the unity of my will, and by virtue of these acts of his done in it, his great glory that he enjoys in heaven. Many, on the contrary, believed that since he slipped into sin, at the most he could have a glory common to all the other blessed, or perhaps even less than the others. But wanting to restore again the kingdom of my divine will, I feel within me a necessity of love to manifest the first epoch of creation and the first period of the life of Adam, all of divine will, as well as the glory he enjoys in heaven by virtue of it, so that, as other creatures come to know a good so great, they may dispose themselves and long for the divine fiat on earth as it is in heaven. You have reached the end of the Book of Heaven, Volume 24, Part 14. Fiat.